You recuse on G&G? No, Robinson.
It's got 3 giant gouges down the side of it. It's like 3,500 miles. It's making 3,500 miles.
They've changed the plan completely. They're gonna move this whole thing closer to the Stewart's side of the property. And apparently, I think that takes it out of some of the issues related to some of the floodplain issues and stuff like that, possibly. It's like, I think they're gonna speak to that, by the way. Yeah, but this is coming out right. Wait, yeah. That makes more sense. It does. And in fact, John Messer just mentioned to me that he'd like to see if he can find a way to get out of 376 and avoid Robinson altogether. And I said, do you think the people that are worried about school traffic are gonna like it?
They're in the back, it's a gouge.
That's a tough spot, especially
Yeah.
You gotta use the right painting brass for the radar engine is on each side.
Yeah.
And the,
He thought the meeting was at 7, I guess,
I picked up a touch of it, you know, it's like,
because that's when the zoning board meets.
until I get it. Until somebody really gets me.
You must be having trouble getting that geared up here, so.
you can't use the same paint that they use on the body. It's gotta be transparent.
Plus 8,000. Want a regular body paint?
Yeah, we still have another week and a half.
Exactly.
It's insane. Because we have Friday off,
It's probably the same old paint.
that adds another day. We have a lot of holidays that add weeks to our schedule. Yeah, it's crazy.
Okay, good evening.
Usually,
We are ready to go. So welcome to the Town of East Fishkill Planning Board meeting for June 16th, 2026. Please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Upcoming meeting dates are July 21st and August 18th. We'll do a roll call attendance. John?
John Giovanoli?
Don Pappy.
John Eichman. Richard Campbell.
Sarah Bledsoe?
And thank you for that. Tonight, Orlando had been on the agenda. They will not be making a presentation this evening, but we will probably see them at a future meeting. So if you're here for that, we will not have them on the meeting. With that, we'll start with the adjourned public hearing for TEG Federal Credit Union. Could I have a motion to reopen the public hearing? So moved.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, I might mention before we start that in the interim, we did receive an email from a resident that lives on Jennifer Drive, and they indicated they were opposed to the project because of traffic issues. But go ahead, Brian.
Okay, since we were here at the last meeting, we talked about redesigning the stormwater based upon the soil tests that we had. So we went ahead and submitted that to the town engineer. It's my understanding it's under review. The other update we have is we've been working with the Board of Health specific to water supply and to the septic. We've had a review by the Board of Health. A couple of comments remain just technical in nature. Specific to DOT, we spoke with the applicant and we've engaged Colliers Engineering to submit for the highway work permit. Part of that process is we talked about at the last meeting that there was going to be a sidewalk installed, and we're going to be doing a dedication of that sidewalk area in an easement form to the DOT. So the applicant has gone ahead and signed the paperwork to begin that process, and that it's going into title right now. So that process does take a little bit, but it's been initiated. That's it.
Okay,
As far as updates.
very good. Any questions or comments from board members? Questions or comments from our professionals?
Brian, just on the sidewalk sidewalk, so you're dedicating the easement and you're also constructing the sidewalk as part of the project?
Yes. The only thing that we'd ask is that process takes about 9 months between dedication and all that, but that we could have that as part of a CO, so it wouldn't hamper building construction if they wanted to start early next year. But they have started the process.
And the sidewalk is a 5-foot wide sidewalk.
And has the applicant completed the design for the monument sign yet, Brian?
I don't know. Don, do we finalize the sign?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not
In
yet?
process.
Okay, got it. Are there any questions or comments from anyone to speak for or against the project in the public? If not, I'll accept a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? And with that, I think we can get to a negative declaration and resolution for the project. Negative declaration dated June 16th, 2026. Reasons for supporting this determination: it will not result in any significant fiscal impacts, will not generate significant amount of noise or emissions level, will not affect rare and endangered species of animal or plant or habitat of such species. It will not result in any impacts to historic or archaeological resources, no impacts to related to hazardous materials, no significant effect on air, water quality, or ambient noise levels for adjoining areas, will not be subjected to unacceptable risk of flooding or major geological hazards, will not have a substantial aesthetic effect, will not adversely affect any surface water or groundwater, will not allow for improper uses within specified zoning districts, will not result in adverse cumulative impacts, will not result in adverse growth-inducing impacts, and will not conflict with the town's comprehensive plan. In conclusion, no significant potential impacts were identified as a result of the proposed action, and with that, I'll accept a motion to approve the negative declaration.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, resolution for TEG Federal Credit Union, resolution offered by Planning Board member John Eichman. Whereas the applicant submitted an application for site plan approval for a TEG bank at 839 Route 376, whereas the proposed 6,512 square foot bank and associated improvements include a 2-lane drive-up ATM, 23 parking spaces, drainage and utility infrastructure, lighting, sidewalk, and landscape, would be located on a 1.05 acre parcel in the B3 zoning district, and whereas the applicant is providing a 10-foot wide sidewalk easement with a 5-foot wide concrete sidewalk across the site's Route 376 frontage, and whereas the proposed commercial building was reviewed and approved by the ARC on May 7th, 2026, and whereas pursuant to SECRA, the proposed project is an unlisted action under SECRA, on February 27th, 2026, the applicant submitted an environmental assessment form, EAF, to the town of East Fishkill. On March 17th, 2026, the town of East Fishkill declared its intent to be lead agency, and on March 18th, 2026, the town of East Fishkill Planning Board circulated the EAF and notice of intent to be lead agency to all involved agencies, and a coordinated review is undertaken. And on May 19th, 2026, the town of East Fishkill Planning Board declared itself lead agency. On June 16th, 2026, the Planning Board adopted a negative declaration on the application, and whereas a public hearing was opened on May 19th, 2026 and closed on June 16th, 2026, now therefore be it resolved that the Planning Board hereby grants site plan approval for the above project as represented on a map entitled TEG Federal Credit Union, prepared by Day & Stokosa Engineering PC, dated 1/20/26 and last revised May 29th, 26, subject to the following conditions. Approval from the Dutchess County Board of Health is number 1. Number 2, obtaining a water connection permit from the town water department. Number 3, the applicant shall obtain a highway work permit from New York State DOT for the entrance and sidewalk. Number 4, to mitigate the intersection site distance limitations, an intersection ahead warning sign is proposed to be installed in advance of the intersection to warn drivers approaching from the north via the right turn channelized balanced movement of the approaching intersection. The approximate location of the sign is identified in sightline diagram contained in Appendix A of the project traffic impact study. This has been reviewed and approved by New York State DOT and will be part of the highway work permit for the project. Number 5, revise the concrete sidewalk label arrow on the site plan to point to the sidewalk along the Route 376 frontage. Number 6, satisfactory resolution of any outstanding comments from the Renia Engineering Design PLLC review letter dated June 12, 26. Number 7, satisfactory resolution of any outstanding comments from Hudson Valley Engineering Associates review letter dated June 15th, 26. Number 8, satisfactory resolution of any New York State DEC and New York State DOT conditions contingent upon New York State DOT approval. Number 9, no tree removal between March 31st and November 1st to avoid impacts to Indiana bats. Number 10, an escrow payment in the amount of $5,000 for an environmental monitor during construction. Number 11, the applicant is advised that the conditions of this approval must be satisfied in the site plan drawing signed by the planning board chairman and any required state, county, and town permits obtained prior to beginning any related work on the subject property. And number 12, all required easements shall be filed with the county clerk prior to the issuance of building permits. Easements shall be prepared and properly executed between the owner of the subject property, future purchasers, and adjacent property owners where applicable. These easements and agreements shall be submitted to the town attorney and town engineer for review prior to being recorded to ensure consistency with the purpose and intent of the approval. In addition, notes shall be added to the site plan listing these and all other easements on the property. Be it further resolved within 5 business days of the adoption of this resolution, the chair or other duly authorized member of the planning board shall cause a copy of this resolution to be filed with the town clerk and a copy sent to the applicant owner. May I have a second?
Do we have to add the part about the sidewalks?
The sidewalks are,
Is actually included. Yeah.
whereas clause, and also, it is on the site plan, but I asked them to just make it a little clearer with the arrow, which is one of the conditions, number 5.
Okay, I just want to, thank you.
The only thing I would ask is if the signing of the site plan is contingent upon the issuance of a highway work permit. The only thing is, if we could adjust the timing on the issuance of the highway work permit, just because the dedication has to happen first, and that usually can take up to 9 months to a year to actually formally dedicate that sidewalk easement area to the DOT.
The other thing is, I know that Brendan wanted me to reiterate to you that as part of the highway work, reiterate timing of the signal. So that's going to be also part of the highway work permit. So I don't know how the highway work permit's got a lot of things going in it.
It's got a lot of things going in, so what I was hoping for, that's why we submitted for the highway work permit to show intent that we are going through the process, but just not hold the site plan signing to the issuance of that
Are you
permit.
suggesting to start the work before you get to have any highway work permit?
They'll give us a temporary entrance permit.
Temporary.
Right, so if we could just tie maybe the signing of the site plan to the temporary permit?
Because you gotta have access.
Right.
So is that required?
For you would be the applicant shall obtain a temporary highway work permit for the entrance.
Purposes of installing it.
Right, and then we wouldn't be able to touch the sidewalk or the entrance formally with concrete until the highway work permit was issued.
Okay, so the amendment is what again?
It's, we're going to add the word temporary to 3. The applicant shall obtain a temporary highway work permit from your state to the entrance. And then we'll just say, you know, we'll have to add that I'll have to obtain the actual work permit. So we'll add another condition to say, once the permit conditions are completed, the applicant shall provide the town the full permit.
Excellent, okay. So,
I just have a question. So you need to have a work permit before you build the sidewalk, but you have to submit the specs of the sidewalk to DOT before you construct the sidewalk.
They're okay with the specs, it's the dedication. They want the dedication first, and then they'll issue the highway work permit.
Because the sidewalk technically is not your property, their
Right.
property until dedication. So I would think you would go ahead and build it and then dedicate it.
We had a discussion about it today, and they're like, they'll give you the temporary, that's it. And they're like, go through the dedication, it's cleaner, I guess, with the chain of command up at DOT.
And you're building it on their right, except dedicated.
Yeah, it'll be dedicated to them, the easement.
Be part of it.
Yeah.
Okay, so the resolution is amended as just discussed. Could I have a second for the amended resolution?
Second.
And we'll do a roll call vote. Board member Sarah Bledsoe?
Aye.
Richard Campbell?
Aye.
Donald Pepe?
Aye.
John Giavagnoli? Aye. And John Eichman, I'm an aye. Carries. Thank you. I just realized we're going to do something a little bit out of order before we get to the next item on the agenda. We have the approval of the minutes of the meeting held on May 19th, 2026. Could I have a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay,
I'm gonna
carried.
recuse myself. I think that was the one I wasn't here for that meeting.
Okay, so Sarah recuses herself. The others are all ayes. Okay, the next item on the agenda is 225 Robinson. Could I have a motion to reopen this public hearing?
I'm going to recuse myself.
And a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? And Mr. Campbell will continue to recuse himself from this particular item. Thank you, Rich. Okay. Please
All right.
proceed.
Brian Stacosa, Dane Stacosa Engineering. We're here for a special permit to allow contractor's yard on an existing farm along Robinson Lane in 376. We were in front of the board last month, and we had a lot of input from the public regarding the proposal, and then, listening to what the public had to say and working with the town consultants, being sensitive that we're in a residential zone, close to a business zone. We try to push the development of that storage area to the southern corner of the property. Originally, we had it just behind the existing barn in the center of the property. So in sketch tonight, just to give the board an update and trying to work with the consultants, work with the planning board, just to provide some more buffer between those residential properties and locate the area more toward the business zone. In doing that, we submitted some documentation, the applicant did, regarding traffic trip counts into and out of the site. They were reviewed by HVEAA, and based upon their input and the analysis that we gave them, they didn't feel that a traffic impact statement was required for what we're proposing on this property. Additionally, we have an advocate on behalf of the applicant here tonight to speak after I'm done. So if the board has any additional questions, they can ask us. But what we were trying to do was just take that center area, move it closer to the business zone to give more of a buffer. Again, more green space between us and the residences. One thing we did touch on when we also did submit was this is going to be considered in DEC's eyes as a contractor's yard, and as part of that, bioretention and dry swales runoff mitigation is going to be the treatment for this area. We're also looking into hydrodynamic separators to increase the cleaning of the runoff associated with that millings area where that storage yard is. It's in process. We've submitted concept to the town, but it will be further refined as we go through the process. But again, I just wanted to kind of give the board an update that we're trying to work with the property, with the landowners, and move this use closer toward the business area. There'll be a further submission. Obviously, this is an adjourned public hearing, but we just wanted to give the board an update of kind of where we're going with this.
Okay, before you leave the podium, does everybody, because the public might be here for this project, do you all understand where they're now proposing to put the parking of the vehicles and everything? Okay, got it.
Question, sorry. So I believe it was on that portion of the property, I think shown on maybe the next slide, or the next page with the lens. I'm just confused on is the wash station now being proposed to be moved to the back portion of the property close to the business area, or are you keeping that where it's at on the
The existing barn where the wash station is, it has a water service to it, so we were going to keep that in its same general area. It's just the area that we're moving is that 2.7 acre enclosed area.
Okay. Okay.
All right.
We're turning it over to John.
John, you want to?
I'm John Nemeth. I'm here speaking for the Metzgers. I've known the Metzgers for 20-plus years in my capacity as a developer, and he's become my friend. I worked for AVR for 17 years up in this area. We've built a lot of things. I'm sure a lot of people don't know much about Glenn, but I want to share something with the board. I went for a ride with him this weekend to the farm, and I saw a man who's a farmer first, not a construction guy. This man has a view and a vision for this farm to farm it. And it just so happens he's going to store his equipment there because that's the only way he can pay for it. And the way he has in his mind to build the berms, plant trees, take the trees that are on the site and transplant them to out in front. It was eye-opening. I didn't realize how big the property was. It's actually a beautiful piece of property, and I hope that the board takes that into consideration. And the people here, I know that you live next to him. I get it. I think this new proposal that they came up with the town, from the conversations and from watching the video of last week, it moves it completely away from all of you. It's a great idea that the town and the Metzgers came up with, listening to everybody's comments. The driveway, the lights will go out straight ahead. It should impact nobody. And to clean that farm up and bring it back to its normal glory would be just amazing. If you go up to the Metzger's farm now, I mean, that's history right there. It's always spotless. The fences are always mended, even though when everybody drives through them, they're usually fixed within a week. And in order to do that, it costs a lot of money. And I hope that Glenn is able to get this property and farm it. I'm sure a lot of people don't know that the person who's been planting the corn on that farm for the last 5 years is Glenn Metzger. He's been farming that land already for 5 years through the permission of the owner. And they came to him and said, look, we want to get out. The owner of the lands live in Massapequa. They have nothing to do with up here. Glenn Metzger and his family are pillars in this community. So please give the Metzgers your consideration. They're stand-up people. We listen to and we hear what you say. When it rains, you get your wash for your 15 minutes, the rainwater and all the cleanup. The engineers know how everything works. That's what his job is, and he makes sure that it's done, and the DEC and everybody has oversight on all of that stuff. Any comments you have, just let us know. They'll address them. They're great people. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So, did you have some additional information that you wanted to present to us in terms of like number of pieces of equipment that are going to be allowed at this? A little bit more about the number of vehicles that are going to be part of the traffic patterns, hours of operations, things like that?
So when we submitted an update to the board, the idea was to have just center access coming into the area. This is when it was rectangular. I mean, obviously the concept is going to stay the same here. There'll be a double gate entrance. You come in, and with any kind of storage area, you're going to back the vehicles in, and then have like a center road section that you can drive around, that you can access each sides of the storage area. Hours of operation, it's a contractor's yard, so employees would come in the morning, they would park their car there, take a piece of equipment, and they would go out. I believe we submitted vehicle trips on a max day. Worst case, it was 189 trips per day combined, coming in and out, AM, PM. They don't anticipate that. That's with every truck moving, and but we had to give a worst case. But on average, we're probably going to be 33% less than that. Again, we took that information, we submitted it to HVA. They reviewed it. They agreed with the traffic numbers and the fact that it doesn't cause a traffic impact statement to be developed. As far as equipment, it's going to be a combination of equipment and maybe storage material, like if they have pieces of pipe or a catch basin, anything to do with construction, traffic cones, things that you would normally associate with construction. In talking to John and Glenn, you're looking at maybe 50 vehicles possible in that area with all of his construction equipment, and they would be, delineated in a row, again, backed in with like a center access point. Or some of the other questions there was one other one I think I missed.
Brian, one thing you didn't mention, you mentioned that I think the serve investment of 200 trips or 189 trips a day, but our traffic data says about 4,000 cars a day on that section of Robinson, right? So that's sort of perspective.
So we're a fraction of that, and that's our worst case, our peak, every piece of equipment moving, which, with employees coming in and out, I think we're in a threshold that, doesn't warrant additional analysis. Again, and these are trucks that travel these existing roadways. These trucks are located in East Fishkill already, so they're already on the roads using this intersection, using this corridor.
Any questions or comments from board members? If not, questions or comments from our professionals?
I think other than add on to what Brian said, we're working through stormwater, and we're going to be in strict compliance with these regulations. And, it's going to take a little time to do that engineering, but we're working through that.
Got it.
Yep, there's a whole chapter in the DEC stormwater manual that we have to file. It gives you certain design criteria that we have to follow. There's certain groundwater conditions and elevations and soil tests that we have to do. So it's all part of a standard SWIP that we do for all of our projects. It's just it's a little enhanced because it is it's vehicle-based, storage-based, so there is an additional layer of treatment and protection that we follow. Typically, that's done with a separation device where when you have water come in, it comes into a hydrodynamic separator where it comes in, it spins around, and it separates any kind of oil or dirt. And there's certain maintenance procedures that go in to clean that out. Those will be sized. DEC has formulas that allow us to come up with that math. The other thing too is for protection of the groundwater and the aquifer, that these treatment areas have liners in them to give them an extra layer of protection. So there's certain different techniques that we can use. We're probably going to use a combination of all three, but we'll incorporate that into a future submission. But since we're tinkering with the site and the layout of it, we'll modify those practices accordingly.
And have you had a chance to redesign where you want the screening and things like that now that you've moved it?
I think we're going to, since we're moving closer to 376, we'll have a buffer row there. We'll have a buffer row. Since we're kind of moving it away from Robinson Lane and more into the corner, probably more focused on the 376 side, and possibly behind the school, where we originally talked about a couple of trees and some of the later brush areas between us and the school.
Okay. I'll open it up to the public. Before I do, I want to acknowledge an email that we received from Teresa Cordero of 254 Robinson Lane. To summarize her email, which is similar to her last one, a little bit briefer, she says, given significant concerns surrounding the traffic, noise, pollution, water quality, and community impact, she respectfully asks that the planning board carefully consider whether this proposal is appropriate for this location, and asks that this be entered into the public record. So a complete copy of her email will be in the planning department for review for anybody who wants to see it. And with that, I'll open it up to public comment. Anybody who wishes to speak for or against the project? Yes, go ahead and please come to the podium and sign in.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm I'm Linda Hassett. I live at 205 Robinson Lane. I have lived here for about 25 years. I walk from my home on Robinson Lane almost every day, past that farm, up to Metzger's farm where the cows are, up by the firehouse, and all the way back. And so I've been thinking about this as all of this conversation has been going on, and I appreciate that some of the concerns sound like they have been addressed or are being worked on, but I haven't really heard anything that reassures me that my property values aren't going to be impacted, that there's not going to be an issue with noise, quality of life, the dirt, the traffic. I'm just not, feeling comfortable with this. I can hear the kids at the school when they're out playing sports in my yard. I live about a half mile away, and I, am just not imagining that number of vehicles early in the morning and throughout the day, maybe 189 trips on a busy day, but 33% less on other days. It's going to be noticeable. And I'm just not hearing enough, and why this just does not seem like a good idea to me. There's just so many issues that don't feel like they've been addressed. So just kind of moving things back a little bit, would really appreciate it if you guys would really thoroughly look at this and, ask the hard questions. And if there's a reason why we should support this as citizens, I just need a lot more.
Okay, thank you. Next speaker.
Is it Ryan? Brian, could you elaborate on this separation process for purification and what scenario it would be used in?
Separators are used typically in dense commercial projects, so anytime you have like a gas station or a commercial site, the water is collected and it enters into a catch basin.
How's it collected, from where, the groundwater?
No, it's surface water, so you're going to have a millings-based surface. That water is going to travel to a low spot, which is a catch basin. There'll probably be a series of catch basins. Those catch basins will be connected via pipe, and that pipe leads to a circular hydrodynamic separator. It's all done by gravity, and basically it filters the water down. Contaminants go to one side of the chamber, clean water exits the chamber, and would probably go into a dry swale, which is then vegetated with different grasses and plantings, and this is all specified by DEC. There's a certain type of organic material like topsoil that this goes into, and then as part of this, there's a stormwater manual that we'll be putting together for this, but it'll go through the sizing of it, it'll go through the design criteria, it'll go through the soil testing. We'll do a pre-post drainage analysis, so we make sure that there's no excess runoff leaving our property boundary, and within that there is a table for maintenance of these structures. There's like yearly maintenance, there's bi-yearly, and it's all spelled out within this document, and then that document gets reviewed by the town fully. It has to comply to DEC standards, and then once that's done,
I just primarily wanted to find out
there you go.
The scenario was used. Now, this is taking into consideration that any vehicle that might be contaminated or have leaky fuel or whatever is in this particular basin already, right?
It's standard commercial site. So
is the whole area a wash basin?
Not a wash basin, but the whole area will be, the runoff will be conveyed to a catch basin and to a treatment device similar to a parking lot.
So this whole area is going to be impervious to leaks into the soil?
No, we're putting millings down. It's recycled asphalt. As soon as there's a 90 or 92 degree day, it turns hard. When water hits that, goes to a low point and goes into the catch basin.
Okay.
I would like to say something.
Certainly. Could we make sure that he has a microphone? Great.
I'll sit up.
Okay, my name is Doug Welch. I live on 9 Summerlin Court, directly across from the proposed site. I guess I have I'm kind of gun shy with this whole thing as far as contamination, because I used to live on Shenandoah Road, and those of you that have lived here for quite a while may be familiar with the well contamination at IBM. It affected over 60 wells, and they had procedures in place too for safeguards, and they had a lot of money to back it up, but they didn't do anything until the leaks were determined, until carcinogens and toxins were in the wells already and people were already suffering. So that's my driving cause right there. I'm even closer. I'm right across the street. And you know what? Accidents happen. I don't know if this property was ever perk tested for development. I think there were several times they tried to build developments over there. I'm not sure why I'm not gonna venture to say why they were denied, but we're stuck with a equipment depot now, and things happen with the fuel, with the toxins, whatever they're carrying, and I'm afraid. I live there, and I can get all the reassurance that EPA is on top of it, but you know what? That's a flood zone. I've watched it. I've watched that whole area go underwater. My neighbor pumps out water every flood, every major storm. I see a 4-inch hose gushing out thousands of gallons of water from their basement. I think my next door neighbor has flood problems. He can't put anything in his basement. So what I'm saying is that whole area is a flood area. And you can have whatever you want on top of the soil, but guess what? Once the water's on top of the soil too, you got a flood. Where's that water going? It's not going into a catch basin. It's going into the drinking water. And it's going to find its easiest way in there. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
My name is Aro Marte. I'm actually 274 Robinson Lane, which is really, I'm across where you guys proposed to build the storage. And, like Doug say, I'm really concerned because this is the only water that we've been using to drink. And they're not only concerned about the water and then the spill of the oil, but I'm also concerned the value of the property. If I will be coming to buy a property and I see the storage and then see the traffic and the noise that is happening, every day, I'm going to walk away and I'm going to probably go to another place. And so that bothered me. It's bothered me that every morning at between 4 and 5, I have to hear the noise of the pickup truck picking the garbage every morning. But, I understand that that's actually, we needed someone to come and pick the garbage. And I already got used to that, but having now listened to and learning about this new proposal, it's actually bringing a major concern to myself. Okay, so that's what I have to say.
Thank you. Other comments or questions from the public?
Hi, I'm Kristen Melendez. I live at 29 Summerlin Court. And let me just sign my name here. I am responsible for that very long letter at the last meeting. And I have a few things to say here this evening. I appreciate your time and your consideration as I do so. A little bit about me, my background. I am trained in geosciences, environmental science, and policy. I've been doing environmental compliance for over 20 years in the public and private sector. everything I say, and everything I've submitted, of course, is of my own opinion, of no representation of any company that I may or may not work for. I did want to say for the record, I did not receive any response to the comments that I submitted. I requested a written response. I did not receive anything. At the last meeting, it was said that the contractor would come back and answer all of our questions, and the contractor did come back with new design plans, but all of the questions were not answered. I did want to review some of the questions that I still had. So I think someone else had brought it up here this evening, and I feel like this is like the crux, is that this particular proposal is not compatible for this local area. This is, yes, it's a farm. Yes, we have businesses. Yes, we have school, we have residential. Is a construction storage yard for construction vehicles part of that picture in your mind? It's not part of mine. It's not part of it for my kids. It's not part of it for any kind of residential setting where you're having schools and businesses interact, a construction yard depot. It is not compatible with the area. And I do have a huge concern about the vehicle washing area. So I understand that the contractor's proposing the storage yard. Okay. Why do we need a vehicle washing area in addition to that contractor storage facility? If we need a facility in order to generate money to build up the farm, why does a washing station have to be part of that? Can we exclude it? I think a lot of people's concerns would be remedied if we don't have a washing station on site. That is a huge way to be spreading invasive species. It's causing further, potential for contamination when you're spraying the vehicles down, whether it's mud, oil, hydraulic oil, grease, whatever you're putting in. Oil water separators, taking it and, separating it, sure. But those fail. So I think we really need to think about why are we proposing these things, and should they be approved with the compatibility of the area, and what was being proposed initially was the storage yard. Okay. So I did have some questions about more protections against flooding. I did not see any in the plans. I did review the updated plans briefly, and I did not see anything about a floodplain development permit being applied for. It's my understanding a development permit is required before beginning any construction or development within a FEMA designated special flood hazard area. And I do believe that the oil water separator, if it is put in, and I say it, but I believe there's actually two now on the plans, that they need to be actually anchored to prevent flotation or any kind of lateral movement. I did not see any notes about that on the plans. And I also wanted to bring people's attention that there are now two oil water separators on the plans, whether that's intentional or not. I wanted to talk about the wetlands. I don't know if you are aware, there was a recent law that was, it's a 6 New York Code of Rules and Regulations 664, and it was recently annulled in April due to an administrative error. The intent of that law was that any wetland, no matter what the size, would be a Class 1 wetland if it had the following characteristics. And that characteristic relevant to this site, at least one of them, is if the wetland is in an area designated as a floodway on your digital flood insurance rate map, okay? So with that in mind, all of the wetlands on this property would be a Class 1 wetland if that rule is still in effect today. It's not. So does it? Oh, I was under the impression that it was annulled by the courts in April.
No, but while there are flood areas on the property, not the entire property.
No, but I did look at the map.
Water bodies outside of that property.
Want to take a look at it with me?
Sure. Yes.
That one.
Yes, but there's other ponds down here. I'm sorry, floodplain, I should say. So it's not all.
I retract.
Some.
Yes, several. I'll say several. Okay, so several of the wetlands, I do apologize for that error. Okay. Would require that 100-foot buffer under that law, which is currently not in effect. So, I mean, the state of New York is saying, hey, we are moving forward. We want to protect our freshwater wetlands. And with that in mind, I would request that the town take that into consideration with this project, if it moves forward, and require a 100-foot buffer in the areas that are within that floodplain around the wetlands. Because chances are we're going to see that law again soon. Okay. I have concerns about the oil water separators that are proposed. I brought this concern up at the last meeting, my last letter, and looks like there's still the OWS 5 and then the OWS 10 and 20 are also appearing on the design plans. These systems do not appear to be equipped with alarm systems. They're also, at least the 5 and the 10, from what I could tell, were made of concrete. And that was a huge concern due to the breakdown that happens for a concrete system. It deteriorates so quickly that I would just highly recommend that the town take a look at a fiberglass or other plastic option, and that be required along with an alarm system. I did provide in my letter for the last meeting that many modern oil water separators are constructed complete with an alarm system. And I did provide a link for a Highland oil water separator that does meet those specifications. And it doesn't appear that this has been taken into consideration.
If I could just add, those are discussions that we've been having with the applicant.
That's great.
So,
thank you.
While it's not on that plan, these are discussions we're having.
Thank you. Okay, and I did see there was a schedule of the design flow for the capacity for the oil water separators, but I did not see like a design flow for total water usage planned at the wash station, which is really what I was requesting. It might have been unclear in the last memo, but I was just trying to figure out how many gallons per day are we expecting for use at the facility, from this one well. And I think, I'm still a huge proponent of, having that wash, if we have to have a wash station, to have it connected to a public water supply, to have it less impact on, our local community with drawdown. And, we have a Summerlin Plaza has a public water system. Why can't we hook up to Summerlin Plaza? Why can't that be part of what's required as part of this process? Let's see, and then I just went on to talk about the hydrological study, to show, really what's happening. And I think someone else here touched on that as well. So I won't go into that in too much detail, but let's find out, where is the water going? How fast is it going? Because I think if we see that, you might say, wow, maybe it really does make sense to, hook up in another way other than, using that water supply. I did not see anything regarding a landmark status consideration for the property, or any notes on the updated design plans regarding impacts to 2 sections of the parcel that were reserved for recreational use in the front of the I say front of the property, I mean the side on Robinson Lane when I say front. That's my front. That's the way I face my front. And other comments regarding the new plans. I wanted to request that the town place restrictions on the size and number of vehicles allowed. I saw that the driveway is being built to withstand 80,000-pound vehicles, and that is consistent with a semi-truck, tractor-trailer with a full payload. I wanted to know if that's what we can expect to be driving in and out of Robinson Lane, and if there's even enough space for a turn radius for that type of equipment on site. And I did not see anything in the plans regarding idling. My understanding is New York State law requires no more than 5 minutes of idling for vehicles greater than 8,500 pounds. I have a question on how will that be enforced on site, and what is the accountability? Request that the town specifically restrict future stockpiling of stone, aggregate, salt, and any other commodity material in this storage area. If it is a vehicle storage area, request that it be a vehicle storage area. Request that the town specifically restrict and disallow fuel storage in this area. I also had a question on whether or not the town is certain that the proposed activity qualifies for 6 CRR New York 617.5 State Environmental Quality, the SEQR Type 2 action, which quality review. And I wanted to ask which action specifically is the contractor claiming under this rule? I want to request for use of wildlife-friendly erosion control measures. Currently, hay bales and plastic controls are being proposed, and recommend referring to U.S. Fish and Wildlife Services for examples, like coir logs and stakes. Town should limit and restrict use of plastic fencing as it prevents movement of local wildlife. At the last meeting, everyone, not everyone, but several folks had mentioned that, you know, we do have so much wildlife in this area, and we really do. Like, so my husband and I will like joke, we're like, we live in National Geographic, you know, like I have more wildlife. We used to live in the woods in New Hampshire. I've lived in Summerlin Court for 10 years. I love where I live. We have more wildlife here on Summerlin Court than we did. We lived like in the boonies in New Hampshire, you know, like there's so much like richness here in that area. So I'm gonna put one in for the wildlife. And also I saw like hay bales are proposed, and hay bales, they are known to rot quickly. They do not hold up in heavy rainfall. They also can contain seeds from invasives and allow them to infiltrate on site and locally, you know, to the neighbors. I still have concerns about the local bus routes and I'd like to limit impacts to, you know, our students and children. And, you know, Summerlin Court, we are full of kids. So I wanted to, you know, ask for a reconsideration of, you know, the timing. I mean, I understand this is a contractor vehicle yard, but I mean, do we really need to be moving vehicles out, you know, before 8:30? Because that's when the kids get on the bus. That's when everybody's, you know, going up and down the streets. That's when all the traffic is. You know, is it possible to move that timing at all? Let's see. I did have a question regarding why an environmental site assessment has not been conducted. And, you know, like why an environmental baseline survey hasn't been proposed. I think this is both protect the contractor as well as give, you know, the residents some peace of mind and, you know, a sense of saying, hey, this is where we are before Metzger got here. And then, I mean, Metzger can prove after, hey, we didn't do anything. This is what it was beforehand. And I think that makes sense as part of a real estate transaction and is fairly something that is commonly accomplished. Okay, I did have to, I apologize, my comments are a little all over the place because I didn't get a chance to consolidate them. So there was a note on the design plans about inspections of oil water separators. It actually says every 3 to 6 months on the design plans currently. My understanding is the industry standard is weekly to monthly, with increased inspections after significant rainfall, and I'd like the design plans to reflect that or reflect a more frequent inspection rate. I had questions on why effluent sampling from the oil water separator is not included in the notes or specs for construction. Wanted to note that there's now 2 oil water separators on site, and I wanted to ask why an additional oil water separator has been proposed at the storage yard location. And I did mention during my last letter, but I also still feel strongly that we should be connecting to, if we have oil water separated discharge and we're washing vehicles, which don't believe we should be doing, but we should be connected to an MS4 or other wastewater treatment system, just to protect our drinking water and soil and those around us. And, oh, I'd like for the stormwater inspections and site logbook and the SWIP, request that the contractor identify a location of all of these on the design plans where they will be accessible to the public. They do say they will be accessible to the public, but I'd like to know on the design plans where that will be so that we can easily access them. Request to provide, how snow removal will be handled for the driveway and the oil water separator areas, as well as requesting that salt usage is specifically excluded for this area. I had a question regarding erosion control measures and whether or not they'd be implemented all along the proposed roadway and perimeter of disturbance area. It didn't appear that way on the design plans. In regards to the construction waste management plan, I had a question regarding whether it was tailored specifically to the proposed project. It appears boilerplate language. For example, number 4 talks about concrete washout facilities, chemicals, paints, solvents, and fertilizers, whereas previously on page 1 states no hazmat usage. Therefore, the design plans conflict within. And number 3 prohibits use of large-scale detergents only. There should be a provision that prohibits all detergents of any kind. If they go to surface water, it directly contaminates our groundwater. If it goes through the oil water separator, it will render it useless, essentially, by letting everything pass through. I just wanted to ask the town to consider, as part of this process, a no action alternative in addition to the proposed construction area and all of the other, all of the other possibilities, whether it's a wash station, whether it's not a wash station. A no action alternative is also very much worth your consideration, as well as even asking the contractor for other alternatives. Say, our constituents, our people have concerns. What else can we do? Let's brainstorm and figure out what we can do that will help improve the property, but not be such a large risk to ourselves. And then I also wanted to end with, an excerpt that's from the East Fishkill Stormwater Management page, and I feel like it's really relevant. And it says, water is one of our most valuable resources, not only our drinking water, but also our natural resources, such as water bodies, watersheds, floodplains, and wetlands. It is very important that we protect and prevent various pollutants from our discharging into our water resources through stormwater runoff. Clean water is essential to the entire community and for the protection of our environment and our wildlife. This is our town, and this is what we say we're going to do. So, just want your help, in making sure that we're able to do that. And I appreciate your time, I appreciate your patience, I appreciate your correction and your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions or comments from members of the public?
Good evening. Thank you for your time. I'm Steve Hoffman. I reside at 23 Summerlin Court. Been a resident there for about 13 years. My wife also runs a licensed home daycare out of our property. I appreciate my fellow neighbors and residents who are much smarter than me, have much more detailed concerns than I do. I want to take a bird's eye view. I want to step back. And when I first got the letter stating that the first meeting was going to happen, I was under the assumption that the property was going to be repurposed. So I came to the meeting, and when the presentation began, it started with the problem. The problem was that this property was an eyesore, that there was a fence that hasn't been repaired, and there's a trailer on the property that's in disrepair. And so here's the solution. In order to be able to beautify the property again, we're going to have a contractor yard and store commercial vehicles. Again, this is how I heard it. I'm not trying to say those are the words that were spoken, but this is how I, as a resident, am hearing what the potential solution is to fix a potential problem. I'm not saying it's that simple, but if this is the solution to beautify the property, I think that the solution has a lot more concerns than a dilapidated fence and a trailer, right? It's a farm. I've also, now this is the second meeting I hear, maybe my ears are hearing it differently, but initially it was a storage facility. Now it's 189 trips per day for 50 vehicles. The request, it might be 189 trips, that might be excessive, but that's the request. So if you're granted that, you have every right to use it 109 trips a day. The request from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. Monday through Saturday, it might be diminished and say, well, it's not going to happen, but if that's the request and that's what's granted, I could be waking up at 6 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday here in contractor vehicles going to the property. So my concern is the solution of making this a storage yard with a wash facility and trucks coming in and out of the property 14 hours a day, 6 days a week, up to 189 times a day, and all the environmental concerns, which everybody did a great job, I'm not going to go over. Is that the best solution if the problem initially was we have a fence in disrepair and we have a trailer, so therefore the property is an eyesore? And I think Kristen alluded to this at the end. I think if that's the problem, I think there probably are a lot of other different solutions that don't cause as many concerns environmentally and otherwise. If we just want to fix the property. Again, I live there, and there might have been traffic studies done, but if you try to just leave Summerlin Court and get onto Robinson Lane at a certain time of day with the school traffic, with the bus stop, which is right on the corner, which the buses that come down Summerlin Court, because there's a few bus stops on Summerlin Court, with the parents that come to my wife's daycare that drop off in the morning and the afternoon. And now you're adding 50 vehicles potentially entering and exiting that exit on Robinson Lane at the same time. Never mind the pollution, I think that's a concern for me. But I really want, my main goal is to step back. I'm a big picture kind of person. I don't get into details, maybe because I don't have the education in this area to do that. But if the problem is the property's in disrepair and we'd like it to be a nice working farm again, and this is the solution, I think my neighbors have expressed a number of concerns to say that maybe the solution is going to cause more problems, and are we better off with just the one problem of we need to fix the property, then this is the solution, which might create additional problems. So I think I made my point. We'd just love us to step back and take a look and say, is this really the best thing for our community? And again, my neighbors have said, there's 2 schools within 7/10 of a mile. There's residences, there are businesses. Is this really the place for a commercial property? So I would please ask that you consider this. You would reject the proposal, but I appreciate your time and consideration.
Thank you. Additional comments by members of the public? Okay, so I think we have no further comments. I know, Brian, I don't know if you have any wrap-up comments you'd like to make?
No, we'll address comments. We'll update the plan based upon information received tonight and the new design concept that we put forward, and we'll work with the town consultants to add additional information.
Okay, so there's still quite a bit of work to be done, and we will see you next month. Is that correct? So in the meantime, I'll accept a motion to adjourn the public hearing.
So moved.
And a second. Okay, and all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so we adjourn to next month's meeting, which is the July 21st meeting.
John, I just want to clarify. I just wanted to address the seeker stuff. They did circulate for lead agency, and it's not a type 2. It's an unlisted action. So that means they're going through the seeker review, and they would need to, prior to any approval, site plan approval, they would need to receive a negative declaration from the planning board. Just to clarify. That happened. We declared agency at the beginning, I think in the beginning, first month. So that end, you guys still need to declare a lead agency, because I do not believe that was done at the last meeting.
Oh, okay. So I'll accept a motion to declare that we are lead agency.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. All right, so that does it for this evening. Thank you, Brian and John. Thank you to the members of the public. Appreciate your input. Really do.
Can Rich come back in?
Oh, yes, that'd be fine. Thank you. Appreciate it, John. Wonderful. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, the Next item that we'll get geared up for here in a moment on the agenda is Alpine Industries.
You have to restart.
Welcome back.
It's so finicky sometimes. Don't jinx it. All right, I'm ready. So this is the Alpine amended site plan. We were here last month just to introduce the project, and we've had a round of review with the Board of Health. It's under review. We had a round of comments back. We're in the process of modifying that, but this is along 82. This is an existing landscape supply business, and what he's proposing is a detached second building along the front. We added some additional parking and delineation of some of the material storage spaces. Have received comments from the fire department. We'll make it loop around instead of doing the crazy T. I think we got enough room to do that. Other than that, we have to submit to the ARC between scheduling and the applicant. We didn't have a chance to make this month's meeting, but we have a meeting tomorrow with him, which we will be submitting that updated architectural plan. Other than that, we're going to try to look at lighting and landscaping on this one. I think you may have been out on site, took a look at it.
At the last meeting, planning board is going to go out, sort of check out, things
Have you guys any input? Has the board had a chance to take a look and go out to the site?
I had a chance to take a look. What plans do you have for changes in terms of lighting and landscaping?
So this is, right now, he's not open to the public during the day and even at night. It's just his employees. There is the possibility that he could have retail in the future. This site used to be the old Reggio's Landscape Supply, so it has some existing pines that were planted 20 years ago. Some of those pines are either dead or in rough shape. So what the applicant wanted to do was just fill in those voids going around the site. There is an existing chain link fence that already borders the property. So he was going to try to just remove the deceased trees, replant in kind with the same species that is in the front of the property. He's got a pretty heavy landscape in front of the property that shields a lot of the area in the back. And again, same concept. He was just going to, if there may be a tree that's in disrepair, just take it out and put a new one in. We didn't think anything would be required above and beyond that, but we wanted to defer to the board. So if you have a chance to be out there, we would amend as required.
Are you doing anything to beautify the front of the property a little bit? Will the old tractor continue to sit in the front?
That's a board's call. What does the board?
I'm just wondering.
There's some.
It's an interesting artifact that probably just needs a little bit of prettying up a little bit, right?
I will pass it on.
Where exactly is that located on your?
It's like right near the entrance.
Yeah, on the right-hand side of the entrance.
Can't miss it.
It's nice. It's not painted John Deere green or anything. I think it's rusted. Any questions or comments from board members? Anything from our professionals?
So we, at the last meeting, we declared our intent, so I think we need to declare a lead agency for Alpine.
Okay.
And then also, if the board feels it's ready, they would also potentially consider scheduling a public hearing.
Right. And since you're scheduled to see our ARC tomorrow, you mentioned, which is great.
We're going to be submitting to them.
Okay. So I'll accept a motion to declare lead agency for Alpine Industries.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And will you be ready for a public hearing at the July 21st meeting, Brian?
Yes, sir.
So I'll accept a motion to schedule a public hearing for Alpine Industries for our July 22nd, 2026 meeting.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. All right, we'll see you then.
Thank you.
Thank you. So the final item on the agenda is 1486 Route 82. I'm sorry, did I just skip over something? I accidentally skipped, I apologize. Let's go back for a moment. I missed Hudson Properties is the next item on the agenda, 1557, 1559 Route 82.
Here for the same thing as the last project. I don't know, this has existing lighting and landscaping on it. I didn't know if you wanted to take a trip out there and see where it needs to be filled in. It's got some pretty good screening along the Taconic when the Florries went in there and redid the building in the back, and it's matured now. There is some mature landscaping around the front building, but I didn't know if you want to take a trip out there.
Okay, maybe I can do that on Thursday.
Okay, if you want me to be there, I will be there.
Okay. Just some secret cleanup here. This is a subdivision and the site plan. The site plan is a very minor site plan because they're not really modifying anything on the site per se. They're showing some land bank parking and potentially some landscaping, but because it is a subdivision, it's subject to seeker, so we do need to declare our intent to be lead agency and circulate.
Okay, so can I have a motion to declare intent to be lead agency?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. And will this require a public hearing down the road, or is that something we can decide?
It will require, it will require a public hearing because this is subdivision.
Okay.
And you do have enough time to circulate prior to the next meeting, and still we can declare lead agency at the next meeting.
I guess I know what I'm doing this week.
So we do have time to circulate, so we
You
could,
have time for him to circulate as long as you get it out in the next couple of days.
okay.
For us to declare it.
Will you be ready for a public hearing?
The girls in my office are not going to be happy, but yes. Yes.
Okay. So could I have a motion to schedule a public hearing for Hudson Properties for our July 21st, 2026 meeting?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. So we'll see you with 2 public hearings.
It'll be fun.
And now, on to 1486 Route 82.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Peter Scott. I'm an architect and engineer representing. I'll do the boards. I didn't bring a flash drive, so I'll just use the old-fashioned way if you don't mind.
Good. Great.
Let me set this up real quick. here to discuss the project referred to as 1486 Route 82. And what we did is we were applying under the MURSP special permit requirements 19441. And just to basically outline what that permits, it permits commercial and multifamily in an R1 zone, of which we are in. Our building coverage can be up to 50%, lot coverage up to 75%, and the yards are reduced to 25 front, 25 rear, and 25 side, and 50 rear. So what we did is we took this project and we proposed as shown on the boards. Let me pull a little closer. So what we proposed in this particular project is an 1,800 square foot multi-use building in the front, and behind it we had 5 25 by 25 two-story units integrated into the existing fish market building, which is a two-story building, concrete, and it's a stepped foundation. What we provided for you was a complete site plan, stormwater management, initial septics, architecturals, and if I could just run through that really quickly with you, we can talk about what's on the plan. We also like to talk about something else, which is permitted in the MURSP special permit plan. We also put together a site plan which depicted no commercial and 100% multifamily maintained within the existing fish market building. And we can talk about that as well. So initially, again, we have an access point established on the site plan. In that, we have an entranceway off of the property on the south side of the building. On the north side of the building, we're eliminating pavement to reduce our impervious count on the site and help us with stormwater management. And in that location, we're putting a new septic system. There is an existing septic system partially in the rear of the property, but it consists of 1 or 2 septic fields which don't meet code. And so we propose to make the whole northern section of the property all lawn, extending up to the proposed building itself. We are proposing some plantings in the front, plantings on the side in terms of some buffer plants, some buffering on the south side as well, next to an adjacent existing driveway, which extends to a property located behind this parcel. The parcel is 1.04 acres in size. In addition, to mitigate our parking in the view shed of the rear property owner, we're adding an array of tree arborvitaes to form a buffer on the rear of the property itself. We're conforming with everything on the property. In fact, this particular site plan showed 2 extra parking spaces. So we have extra. Just to talk basically about some comments we've received. There's a comment about relocating the dumpster so it's not in front of a parking space. We'll probably eliminate a parking space. For access for fire trucks, we are proposing a center core aisle, 24-foot wide, to service our opposed parking spaces. And we're also providing access through a plastic reinforced soil area, so fire trucks can then access the driveway if they had to provide 2 means of access to the building, because I eliminated the parking on the north side. And since that driveway is located on our property itself, the driveway actually is on our property, we are proposing a potential emergency access loop, having the driveway or our center core as access to the property itself. And there's some comments on that which we can easily address because we have excess parking. The building itself basically is an enhancement of what's here. And the enhancement basically consists of a new front facade, which is, again, 1,800 square foot of commercial use, tenant to be evaluated at a later date as this thing moves toward completion. And then the units itself have all separate entrances. They're 2-story high in size. We've given you a lower open floor plan, staircase to the second floor, and they're 1 bedroom with a potential closet area. So they're very open and very generous in size. The common theme of this development of the building with multiple units, it continues with the rear or north side of the building, and all that has on the rear is multiple little areas where we have outdoor decks, and we also have just a sliding door. So all the units have access to that large rear area, which we described for the septic area. It will be a big, long, large grass area to service the needs of our occupants of the building. We're about 50% of the coverage for the building and about 50% coverage for the development coverage. So we're way under development criteria for the particular lot within that MURSP zone. And on the front sheet of our drawing, we depict all of our respective coverages. And again, we're far below the threshold. So while we were designing this project, we decided to look with some input from your planner to potentially look at an option where we would only develop residential units within the building itself. And that would mean we'd be eliminating the 1,800 square foot commercial use in the front and replace that with 6 units in a linear fashion, which is the shape of the existing building. And we had a plan for you as well we prepared, which we submitted, which shows this type of development. What are the advantages of this type of development? Well, we're farther back from the roadway with this option. We need significantly less parking because it's 1.5 parking spaces per unit. We would propose 2 parking spaces per unit that would go with this theme, and we still have extra parking with this proposal. It makes the access for emergency purposes much easier because we don't need that much of a parking field. And we can take our dumpster and put it, we got plenty of room to play with here because we're only basically developing the side of the parking which faces the building. And the side which is away from the building on the other side of an aisle is really for overflow parking. It's extra parking for potential users on the site. In the commercial concept, we have extra space on that one as well because the commercial use isn't being used on weekends, so we have a lot of overflow and phased parking with that option. But this one is all one use and significantly more less development and more open space, and we can afford adding more plantings if so required with this particular concept. And the concept basically also maintained the same stormwater management, the same concept of collection, treatment on the property for infiltration. I forgot to mention that this is all gravel. The site is basically a gravel bank extending all the way up to almost the rear of the property. So the soils are fantastic for infiltration. There's no problem with this at all on the property itself. Very easy to work with as well. So we have 2 options to look at before the planning board, and we propose this because the residential would work for us as well, and it's less development, but we also have the commercial working. We made 2 site plans to work for the property. And the only difference in the architecturals is that we would not have a commercial building in front. The last unit would be decorated appropriately for a residential building, but we would not have any windows the units architecturally because we don't think there's any significant improvement if we allow people to look at the street out of their unit. It'd still be a front and rear access sort of design. We submitted a SWIP, stormwater management, our test data with the septic testing. We have some minor comments from your consultants, mainly dealing with the fire marshal concern of where you put a dumpster and where we have an emergency access way. Very easy to achieve because we've got extra capacity for parking on both plans. And I'd love to answer any questions if I could, and maybe we can get some direction from the board, what they'd like to look at in terms of all residential or residential and commercial.
So I can just give you a little bit of a background. This is for those of you that haven't figured out, it's the former Fish Market building. The special permit was put in place specifically to help property owners with underutilized commercial buildings that were historically located in residential districts, because it can put you in a difficult situation if the commercial use goes out and you haven't used the commercial use for years and it sits there and gets dilapidated, and then it affects the residential properties around it because of the fact that they have to go buy a building that isn't being utilized or underutilized. So the special permit does give you some discretion as the planning board. One of the things it allows you to do is consider mixed-use buildings, but also consider a building, if you so decide, to allow it to be completely residential. And that's something that you would have to determine if you wanted to waive the commercial requirement. I think that you need to consider the context of the neighborhood, the look of the building, and all of those types of things in your consideration. One of the things that I think the applicant was, potentially considering, I mean, it sounds like you don't really have a tenant yet at this point for the commercial space, but, it could be medical. There are some limitations in the special permit with regards to how many employees there can be in the building. I think it limits it to 2, if it's a doctor's building or medical building, for example, it's 2 doctors and, total of 4 staff. So it's limiting in they don't, the idea behind the special permit was not to allow an expansive commercial use because it is a residential district. So it would be a very limited amount of commercial activity that could be considered at the site. So I think that should be also contemplated. The location, the neighbors, the distance between the neighbors and the site. On your commercial application, I'm sorry I didn't look at this carefully enough. The driveway that you have going in, is that a different driveway than the existing driveway, or are you using the existing curb cut?
The site has a continuous asphalt apron curb cut.
Okay.
So we're restricting it significantly with this proposal.
Okay.
It's reduced from like 100 feet to the width of the driveway.
Okay. So, it's also a tight site, and there are, and I don't know, they'll obviously have to go through the health department for the septic system, and they'll have to get approval for that. And then I think they'll have to consider the wells and septic locations of the properties around them too. So I don't know if you've already looked into that or not, but there's some constraints on the site for where they can locate things, and I think that they're trying to design within those parameters. So those are all things that the planning board may want to consider when thinking about how they want the site to be used.
So I guess my initial question is, the site has not been used for anything. The building's dilapidated to a point where your intention is to eradicate it? Has there, and again, attached to it, I'm sorry not to interrupt you, has there been an engineering survey done on its existing structure, the foundation? Because that seems to be, at this point, dilapidated to the point where there's infiltration of weather and,
Yeah, we did a couple things. We first fixed the site plan because there was a pipe which had basically eroded significantly and was discharging water on the street. We repaired everything already, so the stormwater is functioning now as it's supposed to. That's step 1 we did. Step 2, we completed analysis of the building and prepared plans to the building department to stabilize the building, looked at all the structure, looked at the foundation. We are proposing to eliminate the front 25 feet of the building and place that. We submitted plans for that. But at this point in time, there's no point moving forward until we discover what we're doing here with the board, but we have drawings filed, stamped and sealed by structural engineers and architects to stabilize it and to make it work. But in terms of, depending on which way we go with the project, if we went with the residential proposal, we'd be working within the footprint of the existing building, which is the least amount of impact to the site. And it's very easy at that point then to solve the building size, because we designed the building to the footprint. Our units are front to back footprints, and the only thing we'd be probably doing is rebuilding the structure. Like the roof would be replaced. It's just a sloped roof right now. We want to make it a gable roof if we can, pitched front to back with a ridge down the middle, and then again the foundation. I have to repair the first 25 feet of it, 28 feet, because of it's a block wall which has a failure in 2 locations.
So is that part of the engineering report, part of the plans that we're looking at in Granicus?
So just I'm going to take a step back for a second. The intent really of a special permit was to allow buildings to be used, because the concern was that we had buildings that were existing that were non-conforming in use, and we wanted to be able to somehow have people reuse them, not necessarily take them down all the way and reconstruct something that wouldn't be allowed by zoning, right? So that was sort of the idea behind, or the intent behind the special permit. So that's just something to kind of keep in the back of your mind. But with regards to the foundation, I'm going to defer to Scott on that. But
that would be under the purview of the building department, and they apply for the actual permit, so it's a little premature to get into, whether or not what he submitted is sufficient or not.
Okay.
We're not quite there yet.
But basically,
The premise is that they have to use the existing building.
okay, and just for all intents and purposes, this building as it sits today is pre-existing, non-conforming.
correct.
Okay.
So you are using a portion of the building?
Yes.
Are you using the foundation that sits there for the apartment
Foundation
section?
will probably be utilized. It's a step foundation. We designed around everything to do with the foundation. We've met that criteria. The same steps as exist. Everything's the same on that regard. In terms of structure, to be candid with you, we designed a way to solve all the structural problems on the building, but it might be more cost effective for us to just rebuild the building, but keep the footprint and the foundation as much as possible.
Okay.
That'd be ideal for us.
So the six townhouse or apartment plan,
Yes.
does that exist in the same footprint as the 5 apartments on the commercial and apartments plan?
Yeah, sure.
And therefore, they're smaller, I take it?
Yeah, the only difference between the 2 site plans is there's a little stub that's extended to the north of the 1,800 square foot building. But this all fits in the footprint, but it's a little bit added to the north, while this building is exactly within the footprint of the existing building.
So Plan A exceeds the footprint, Plan B stays inside of it.
Because the ordinance states that the residential have to be in an existing building, but the commercial does not. That's how the ordinance reads. So that means you can take an existing building, put all the residential you want, but you can always add commercial to that per your special permit. And so we utilized that option for this, let's call it Plan A, and it's fully complying with the setbacks and coverage, et cetera. And then we're showing you the advantages if we just did all residential here, that we'd have less development on the site. We could go in with if you're going to add a commercial component to the building, it can't be 25 by 25. You'll never get a tenant. Yeah. So we picked 1,800 square foot, which is a minimum you can pretty much have for some sort of commercial use. If I could say what do we prefer at this point in time, I think we'd rather go with the residential. It's a lot less impact. more open space. There's a lot of advantages to it. And I don't have to worry about the commercial people, what's their working hours, et cetera, on the site. Again, we had to show both options to show you what the optional scopes could be and what your board, of course, select which is more preferred. Again, we're in an R1 zone.
So, I just ask a question. I can't see the person here, but like, are you like, for instance, turn a fire truck around, garbage truck around, you have room? I heard you were like doing away with blacktop on one side, so
yes,
you're not going to have a loop. So you have a turnaround for the fire trucks and the garbage trucks.
Yeah, well, the fire trucks are going to try and utilize an adjacent driveway since we have frontage. They're on this property. I don't have an easement.
When you say adjacent, it's not on this property.
It's on this property, but there is a regulation that allows fire trucks access to all streets and driveways in the town. It's a New York State Fire Code allows that. So basically,
your design says that the fire truck's going to go on the neighbor's property in response. So there's like a 911 call or something. They're going to use the neighbor's property to hear out.
No, it's just direct access. We have direct access. We have a 24-foot wide aisle.
Right.
But the lead, you can go through this option on that driveway.
So you're right back to the neighbor's driveway.
Yeah, instead of backing out the street, there's a loop across the road there.
To go on the neighbor's property.
Yes.
And garbage truck.
Garbage trucks, we have a turnaround area for it.
You have a turnaround area for garbage truck?
Yes, we do. Yeah. A pull-off. So that is feasible with our plan. And so,
I'll defer to the fire department on that.
yeah.
And once we see the newest plans, we'll probably have your comments, but just from what you're saying, my concern, and I believe that our board's concern, is for that emergency exit.
Yes.
First of all, before you head to parking spaces in front of it, I take it that no longer exists.
We can move them out of the way. We have an opportunity.
It's not an emergency exit, you got an argument there.
No, what I'm saying is, we can show you a plan which has unobstructed access off the property.
The second part, you know the pavers, the in-ground driveway?
Yes.
Has to be able to support our largest vehicle, which is going to be 75,000 pounds.
Yeah, I'll give you a rating on it. We use it all the time.
We also have a concern with maintenance of that in the wintertime. Not an emergency exit, but the driveway, which now is all gravel, I think.
Yes.
Being maintained so we can actually make use of that. So those are some of the thoughts that I had, and I said we'll have more official comments when we see the plans there.
Yeah, we never had a loop around the building in the past.
Never had 6 apartments.
Right. Pardon me?
Never had 6 apartments.
That's true too, yes. So we're working on an option because basically if you had to make a road around the building, you'd have no building left. It'd be a parking lot. It'd be a parking lot with a building in the middle of it. So we're trying to work on a compromise to make this work. Or in other municipalities I've worked with, the fire trucks are allowed to back up onto the road because there's enough security people there after the fire event is over that we're allowed in other cities to back the trucks off the property onto the highway.
Our concern is that after the incident, during the incident, to be able to get the apparatus in and out of there. There's no public water there.
Yes.
We would like to see hooking to McDowell Crossing that has the water supply across the street. But to be able to run our tankers and switch their motion in and out easily in that parking lot and around is better from the obvious reason if you do have a fire, you may have to make rescues off the back of the building.
Yes.
And do it with a ladder truck. It's much easier and quicker than for carrying 25, 24, 35-foot ladder all the way around the building to reach the other floors.
DOT doesn't like this, but we could give you a stub off the highway on the other side of the building and just drive in there. A pull-off on the north side of the building.
We had to look at that.
Okay. We're flexible, and also in terms of, we're not sure we'll ever get water from across the street. That's going to be a long shot, but we could I could do an ISO calc on this and determine the fire tank size. We could do a underground fire tank if we had to. So we're willing to work with it.
How many square feet would either plan be? Like, let's start with the residential, all residential. What's the total?
3,800 square foot footprint times 2 stories.
Okay.
Can you describe the size of the apartments and are the units 2 floors?
Yes, they're townhouses stacked, because we have to have a separate exit entrance for each unit. And that's what we just show on the plan.
And are they like a mix of 1 and 2 bedrooms or all 2 bedrooms? And how generally your average size of the apartment? Right?
They're 1,000 square foot, 500 over 500. And then we basically, they're 1 or 2 bedroom, depending on how we go with the selection of what type of project you want to go forward with. Because if we get rid of the commercial, we're saving 400 gallons a day, which is the minimum for a doctor's office. And so we could take the 400 gallons and apply it at 110 gallons per bedroom per day, and make some of those units, potentially 2 or 3 of them could be 2 bedrooms. And we have more than enough square footage. That's why I'm trying to bring up the options here early, because everything's tied into that as we move forward. But we did design it both ways, both septic, drainage, site plans, to give you guys, show you what the ramifications are of making that selection.
And each unit is 2 stories?
Has each townhouse.
Space is 2 stories, okay.
And we could never get the fire code to work with a type 5 building, having them stacked. You'd be taking that building down in a heartbeat.
Does the special permit procedure apply the same if they don't have the commercial space?
Yeah, it's just that you guys would have to waive the
Requirement for commercial.
Okay.
And the reason for that was, again, because it's residential single-family zoning, right? And so the idea was that usually the deteriorated properties were commercial at some point. And so we were, kind of trying to create a method for people that were stuck with properties that were just deteriorating and not being redeveloped, because they couldn't redevelop them in any way, and give them, somewhat of a reuse opportunity. But I would encourage everybody to read through the mixed-use special permit and the intent of it, because I think it will give you an idea of where the town is going with the idea behind it.
But best use for the applicant and for the town would be the residential, complete residential, would you say, or?
I think that that's something that you guys need to consider. I think that it's pretty residential right there, and it's surrounded by residential. So, I don't know how neighbors feel about another commercial use there. I think parking could become an issue with any sort of commercial use that happens there.
And your comment before was that the applicant would prefer the residential use.
Yes, it solves a lot of problems from the fire department. And basically, it seems to function better. One thing about planning wise, which is important to realize, is the north of the house, right here. But I have an open field to the south, but the house is behind me up on a long driveway. So we push all the parking to the south side and making a green buffer, 100% green buffer between the existing building and the property line, which basically we did to sort of improve the life of the existing house, which is right exactly to our north.
And what would you say the space between the actual back of that building to the property line, not to the house, is? Because I know it's a very narrow.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if I have a dimension on that. I can tell you right now, it's about 60 feet.
60. And is there any existing buffer there now? Is it just overgrowth or?
Yeah, there's one pine tree right here, which is kind of falling apart. And the rest of the back of the property is just basically brush and various components of past work.
Is it possible to do some screening, though, to screen that house?
Yeah, we did put a boxwood buffer along this whole area where the house is, to buffer that. We can't put trees in the septic area. Yeah, we have to be 10 foot away from a septic area with trees, and they do terrible things by going into the septic field itself. Okay. But we are proposing a solid 10-foot buffer in compliance with the regs along the property line to sort of buffer that.
What about a fence?
Yeah, we have no problem with the fence. I hate putting fences in, to be honest with you. They're pretty ugly. Because all they can see right here is just little porches which are 10 feet wide, on grade, no railing around them. We're setting the porches so they're less than 24 inches above grade. You don't need a railing, and it's sort of step down onto a lawn area. I'm trying to make it as simple and as innocuous as possible in terms of development and focusing on the grass buffer area.
But also, we're not just referring to site, but it would be also sound, a bit of a buffer to, if people will be back there and they are going to enjoy the apartment, which they rightfully can do.
Correct.
That would definitely, you have all those people that would be out on the back, whatever it may be, party, whatever.
Fencing. I mean, I don't want to do a chain link fence. I'm trying to do something
No, I'm talking about something that would be more conducive to protect, your neighbor's same enjoyment of their property.
Sure. 5 foot maybe, 4 foot, 5 foot.
6 foot.
We'll show you a fence, and I'll show you great options, but as an architect, we don't like fences.
Okay.
But yes, we're open to any suggestions you may have. I mean, the goal of this whole process was to try to bring this thing back from the dead. And we started by fixing the site work, then the structural work. Now we have the site plan. Whatever improvements anyone can think of here, we'd be more than happy to entertain that. And we've tried to contact the people across the street that private water service, but I'm not sure how we're going to make out with fire flows from them, because they weren't really designed for fire flows, but we'll have to see. That's what we might be doing, a tank on our property, because it's the only way to make it work, really.
Okay. So would you like to know from us this evening whether the board is amenable to one plan or the other?
I don't want to put anybody on the spot decision-wise, but if you want to make a decision, I'd love to hear it. Or we could get something, send us in the mail or email, whatever.
So I think you'll find the board is very willing to work with you on trying to see this get redeveloped, because it's been such an eyesore for so long. And I think both of the plans are interesting. I, for one, would be amenable to the all residential plan for all of the reasons that you stated. It looks attractive to you as the architect and to the applicant. And I think is something that would be a little bit more attractive as well to the surrounding residential neighborhoods. So I don't know if any other board member has an opinion they'd like to voice.
I agree. I think it should be residential.
I feel the residential option with the protections of the neighbors that I kind of lightly discussed. And then obviously, I'd like to see how the facade plays out against 82, like how it faces, as opposed to just looking at the side of the building. I don't know if plans could incur entrance and, something that looks more inviting from the front. But yeah, personally, I feel that the residential use would be best suited for that area, and I think everyone would love to see the building resurrected based on what you're showing us.
Yeah, we'd like to we'd like to take the roof off the building and make it more decorative, because right now it's a flat plate pitching toward the north.
It's an eyesore.
Try to make it more of a more satisfying architectural facade. We did show that in our architectural plans, and we'll give you amended plans. We did show a new roof here with the dormers on it. We're providing dormers to break up the massing. We would provide something. We could go plan the whole front redone in some manner to make it look like a house.
Those changes changes, what does that do to the square footage? Does that increase the square footage of the building?
The roof basically is, the element of the gable roof is not tall enough to constitute, the ridge is under 7'6" high. It doesn't meet building code.
And so the building would be relatively the same height or the same height as the existing structure with
It has to be a little taller because that roof is flat at like a 1% slope. That's why it fell apart. It's too flat a roof. So we're only increasing the height by like under 6 feet.
So I think they're proposing 6 units. I think that's something you need to consider. You know, the density, you need to consider the use, and you need to consider the potential changes that might have to occur with the building when determining, and you have time to think about it, you don't have to decide it tonight, but all those things you should take into consideration with the neighborhood compatibility, with the use of the site, and it's a tight site. So those are all things that you should weigh, and maybe if you haven't seen the site, again, I think most everyone has, but if you haven't seen it,
Would we have like the architectural review committee weigh in on it?
they would have to look at the architectural, yeah. See, I mean, originally the intent was that the existing building would be reused. So we have a little bit of a conundrum here because we're not exactly sure how much of the original building can be reused at this point. So I think that has to be factored in to the consideration.
Well, when will that be determined?
It's supposed to be reused completely, because the idea was not to allow you to take down a building and build a multi-family building. It was to reuse a building in a way that allows you to get economic benefit from the property without, having to modify it and really have be a full-on change.
So when,
I can add, we have a registered architect, right? He's going to put his stamp on it. It's going to get submitted. Either gets approved or there's comments like there are on other structures. He's going to respond to those comments, but ultimately he's going to put his stamp and say you can build that structure. I think that's what he's representing.
okay.
Yeah, I'm an AE as well as an architect. I'm both. So basically, I do the structure and the house. And right now, the building is built with lumber sizes, especially on the roof, which don't meet building code. They're 2x6s. And, we can't use them anyway. We did just provide a plan to the building department. We were trying to sister everything up with lots of lumber, but it's easier just to replace it and do it the right way.
Okay. I don't know about the rest of you, but even though we all know this area, I think it would be useful to do a site visit and do it with you so that you could maybe describe to us in real time in front of the property how everything lays out. And we can take a look at the neighborhood and the adjacent properties and so forth.
We've even cleaned out the entire inside of the building is all clean. There's no debris in it.
Nice.
Everything is because we are concerned about fire problems. So everything is cleaned, gutted, room clean throughout.
Still smell the fish.
How does it exist with the building department today as we're speaking about it? Is it condemned? Is it have any building code violations?
We did get an engineer's letter, and they need to come forward, which they are. So it's kind of an open kind of thing.
Okay.
See how it plays out.
Okay. Does it have any building code violations right now open?
I think the only thing that there was the technicality is the demo had expired, and to renew that, but I think it's done.
Because they're moving on to this. Okay.
The owners of the property with me here tonight, they want to move this along. Our firm was retained to make it happen, and so we're here to just get whatever you need to do. We'll take care of it. We'll give you a 3D model of the building next meeting, so you can look at all of it. And it's we'll even put the fence on the site plan in 3D to get all the whistles, and we'll do the front as well. So we'll move that along.
Is there a list of potential permitted commercial uses? Like what could possibly go in there? Or is it what could not go in there?
So, yeah, there's a list, and I can actually read you this first.
Is it mostly just professional uses?
Yes. Low density, low traffic generating.
Right.
Okay, so nothing like a daycare?
No.
Okay.
So it's home office, general office limited to 4 employees, professional office limited to 4 employees, private practice, medical or dental office limited to no more than 2 medical dental practitioners and 2 staff members, and live work buildings.
And also, they're limited by the square footage that they could add on for commercial.
Correct.
Right.
Okay. What is the alternative if the special permit is not granted?
One home.
Just one single-family house, so you have to tear down, rip out foundations, you're not using anything existing, and it doesn't meet.
That would be what would meet zoning.
Would necessarily have to tear it down for a single-family house, but that would be up to them.
Right, it would just be a single family home.
So they'd have
What's
to
the lot
reuse
size?
the building as a single.
It's an acre, right?
Is it an acre? What's the size of the lot?
1.04.
But it wouldn't meet the setbacks. Like the house would be microscopic because it wouldn't meet the setbacks because it's so narrow.
Residential, we would not need setbacks. It'd be very small. In R1 zone, setbacks are, I think, pretty similar. I think it's 30.
25, and 50 from the road.
Yeah.
And what's the width of the narrowest part of the lot?
Well, it's the lot is, the lot parallels pretty much the building shape. It's a little bit wide in the front, but it narrows out in the back.
But what's the width?
What's the width of it? About.
I would say, real quickly, about 140 feet frontage and about 100, a little over 110 feet rear.
50 feet to build something.
160 feet wide here. in that part.
Okay.
I think the best use for all of this is to try and, the concept of this special permit kind of makes sense, but we're the poster child for it. And I think if we could all work together, which we would love to do, we can bring this back and make a nice, element in the town. And again, we're open to any sort of comments, suggestions to make it a better place, because we want it to be a showcase, not an empty building on the side of the road.
Right, okay. If you could work with Jackie Keenan to, she could try to herd all of us together on a date that might work for you as well for a site visit.
Very good. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments before we
Do we declare lead agency?
declare intent?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we could easily do that.
That'd be great.
Yeah, I guess we'll do it, but we'll have to fill you in on which sign you're going to circulate. And if there's any, we could wait too.
What's the next step? Like, where do they go from here?
Well, it's a special permit, so they have to have a public hearing.
Right.
And site plan, right? So at this point, I think we need to give them some feedback about, where they're going to take the project. And then I think we need to understand, some of the parameters. I think you said you've gone through some health department stuff?
Yes, we've done all the testing for it, and we've got one more. We didn't do testing toward the front of the property. We were sure it's commercial or residential. We didn't punch any holes in the existing pavement. But our next step in the health department would be to add additional holes where pavement is going to be removed.
And then what about like where their entrance onto 82?
They're probably going to be circulated to DOT.
That's sure.
Then DOT will have to determine if they're going to have any requirements or require any changes to the, the curb cut's going to potentially be short, right? So they're going to probably weigh in on something.
So we have to decide as a board which plan we support informally?
The way they can do all residential is if the planning board waives the requirement for the commercial. And that's in the special permit that you have the discretion to do that.
And is there a public hearing before that?
No, you would direct them which way you want it to do. And you can also, there's also some ability for you to waive some of the setbacks and other dimensional requirements if it makes the project a better project. But that's why I encourage you guys to read the intent of it to make sure that you're following the intent when you're considering waiving anything.
So then here tonight, we would be voting to say, hey, move
You're ready
forward?
to vote tonight. You may want additional information. You want
Okay, so the site
I
visit.
think the site visit, yeah, would be appropriate.
I agree with you, it's
But
appropriate.
I think you've heard some comments that give you an idea
Where's the
of
intent?
how we're leaning
Is that-
perhaps a bit.
Yeah.
It's 194-46.12. It's called the mixed-use redevelopment special permit for the Merce.
What was that, 194?
194-46.12.
Not to put a burden on you, but is it possible for you to just email that to us? Perfect. Perfect. Great. Okay.
Be helpful when we do the site visit.
So is that the next step? We're doing the site visit, and then at the next meeting, we have to vote on which path forward this goes?
If you're willing to waive the commercial requirement or any of the other things that may need to be waived, I don't know that anything else needs to be waived, but you
Okay.
And we're declaring, our intent to declare lead agency would be done at this point.
we can do it now. He just can't circulate until he knows what plan he's going.
He's going.
There's no reason not to. We might as well get that housekeeping item out of the way. So I'll accept a motion to declare intent to be lead agency.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, and we'll look forward to that site visit and
We'll send it
look at this
tomorrow.
further.
We'll email around to see what dates
Yeah,
work.
Yep.
yeah, just like pick a few and we can chime in.
I know it was, what about a quorum? Are we going to quorum at the site visit, or how's that work? What I'm saying is if you have a quorum, you have to allow the public to come with you.
Yeah. We just need to,
We can split it up.
We could.
There's a way for us to deal with that. We'll figure that out. Let's talk about that separately offline, okay?
like, we have to look public.
Yeah. I mean, if we need to split it up, we will, but we'll figure that out.
We could do that. It's certain time periods. I just want to get in trouble.
Right.